Agent here, and we are going to do the first video after the patch for the Fast and Formidable update. This is actually after the clan matchmaking update, but there were some changes to the energy curve that came along with it. So we are taking out a bot from my other account to Other Agent. I uploaded to use on this account, and it has had 0 changes done to it since the update. It is a 1750 CPU build. Nothing has been touched on it since the update happened, since Fast and Formidable. And I gotta say, it functions just as well, if not better than it did before, and part of that is because people are trying to exploit the energy curve and build these microbots that can deal a lot of damage, but they can't take very much damage. There's a couple builds in this match that are poorly constructed, and with rails, if you can find those metaphorically speaking, those chinks in armor, you can kill bots really easily with the penetration model, and you'll see that a few times in addition to some of the guys that are using. There's one bot in this match that I can 1 or 2 shot every time. So the thing I like to do obviously is focus on enemy rails and enemy flak and enemy lock-ons as a rail. Use that precision to your advantage and take out the bots that are hurting your team with long-range weapons. Flak is especially important. With the damage stacking, it can make short work of all of the aircraft on your team, so I tend to focus flak as much as possible. It's not always possible to focus them down really well because they tend to hide a little bit more lately. I don't know if it's because they're built on weaker bots or what, but they seem to be hiding a little better lately. And as you just saw, there are a couple pretty easy to kill bots moving in on our tower, which I helped to defend. So I'm going to harass this guy out here. He's actually rail crawlers, rail walkers. I've seen people call them crawlers. I prefer to call them walkers because that's what we've always called them. They're not that effective anymore unless you have thrusters and helicopter rotors on them, because camping rail is kind of obsolete. You need to be a mobile rail in the new game, and I've always been mobile rail. I built a rail cruiser way back in the old days of hit scan and slow turning rails, and managed to go out there and fight a little closer quarters than normal. I've just got some old videos on my YouTube account that show that. So here I'm going to focus this guy's legs off so he stops running away, and then aim for the center mass, because a lot of times you can just core right through them and they'll break apart pretty easily once you get through that middle. A lot of important bits are stacked in the middle of bots too, and with rails, if you can land successive shots in the same location, you'll just bore right through their bot to their important bits. Here's an example of a poorly constructed bot. I hate picking on this guy, and you'll see me later in the match. I told him I was kind of feeling bad. It's a game, I know, but I was feeling bad about wrecking him so easily every time, so I gave him a heads up. Hey man, you need to add some more connections, because to me it looks like that he put a flat cannon on some legs and didn't have any other connections involved. So once I shot the flat cannon off, all 3 of his legs were separate, and none of them had enough CPU invested in them to let him stay alive. So all I gotta do is shoot the flat cannon off of him and he's done. So I gave him a heads up later in the match that he needs to change that. Hopefully I think he tried to add me on his friends list after that, but I usually don't accept random friend invites unless I know you from IR or AC's Discord, or I've played with you a lot. I probably won't add you, because I did that for a while on my main account, and it was constant invites to platoons, and people would spam stuff, and it got really annoying. So no offense, but unless I know you fairly well, I'm probably not going to accept the friend request. So obviously I like to play mobile rail. I go around, I will fight at a distance. I will be, you can call it slightly campy, I guess, because I like to go back and forth between the middle tower and the tower that's on our side, and help to defend both and take them when needed. So you could kind of call it campy, but I'm usually moving around a lot. And rails don't have that accuracy penalty anymore when moving. They suffered for so long with that accuracy penalty that it's great now that you can actually move around and shoot as a rail instead of having to move into position and then sit still while you shoot, because you're such an easy target, especially with this new meta of small bot equals lots of energy. You can't just sit still anymore and take a volley of plasma from a small bot that's using plasma devastators. It doesn't work that way anymore. You're going to get wrecked over and over again. So I like to move around a lot, and I do sit still sometimes when taking shots because it does help your aim to not be moving, but it's definitely not a necessity anymore. So I'm going to help my teammate out. I want to take this tower anyway. Looks like he's got that guy handled, so I'm going to move in and start picking away at these crystals. Rails are best for towers once you're like overclock 10 or more, unless you've got the small rail piercers, I believe, are the smallest ones. They do a pretty decent job just because of their fire rate and the penetration model of taking the towers. If you get up underneath it and then look up the connector strip, it'll actually penetrate and get multiple crystals with one shot. But larger rails, I tend to wait, and I tend to focus on suppressing the enemy and supporting my team unless the situation calls for me to actually go take a tower by myself, like half the team is dead or most of the team is dead, and we need them to respawn. Because towers do respawn your teammates. It's important to take a tower if most of your team is dead, otherwise you could be looking at the end of match and a loss. So like I said, play mobile rail. I'm just going to move right on in there, shoot at these guys, get up close and personal. A lot of the times I'm not actually using the mouse to aim. I will aim the mouse in the general direction of what I want to hit, but then I use the fact that I'm moving to line up the final shot, just like kind of in the old days when I used to play GoldenEye 007 and Perfect Dark on the N64. I would strafe my crosshair into position instead of only using the thumbstick to aim. But it actually works. It's a good tactic to use if you're moving around a lot. I do the same thing with lasers. A lot of people are focused on only using the mouse to aim, and you can actually use the positioning of your bot to aim as well, and the motion and the movement, and let the enemies just land right in your crosshairs as you move. So that's something I do a lot with all weapons except for plasma, really, and I haven't been a big user of plasma since the update. I usually I'm sticking to weapons like rails and lasers for the most part. In fact, I don't have any plasma builds on this account that I'm using right now at all. It's all rail cruisers, laser hovers, and I have a laser copter. Copters kind of suffer from the insane damage that flak builds with the stacking mechanic, because most of the time they just can't react fast enough. If you're playing a large heavy copter, they can't really react fast enough to get out of there. And the rotors are still so easily removed because I'm using the recon rotors. I'm not using the larger rotor blades since they present such a large hitbox. And I can't rebuild those bots to use the larger rotors. They're constructed very tightly around the building hitbox of the recon rotors that it's just completely impossible. So mainly sticking to rail cruisers and laser hovers here. So now that we've got some overclock built up, I am going to chase kills. I don't normally recommend chasing kills, especially early on in the match. It's going to take the player, many times it's going to take your enemy more time to hide and heal than it is to die and respawn. So you're actually better off not killing them early on in a match and not chasing them down and wasting time, because they're just going to respawn in 2 seconds at overclock 1, I think it is. So there's no point in chasing them back to their base and then killing them right outside their shield, because they're immediately going to pop back up and come after you. People make that mistake a lot with me. I'll get killed once in a while at early overclock levels, and I care less then too, because you respawn so fast. You can do some dumb things that might capture you a tower or kill an annoying enemy, like a lock-on copter or something that's hovering at max height or whatever, and it doesn't really matter if you die at low overclock levels because you're just going to respawn right away. So people will chase me right outside of my base shield, get the final hit on whatever's left of my bot, and then I immediately respawn and come back and wreck them because they're already half damaged from our fight. So don't make that mistake either. So I'm going to come in here and heal. I definitely don't want to die now because I'm building my overclock level higher, and the higher it is, the longer your respawn time is going to be. So you want to start playing more and more conservatively, I guess, to say, as you build overclock levels. You don't want to overextend and not be able to get out of a situation where you get surprised by multiple enemies or you just can't win the fight. You want to make sure you know what you're doing, and that's the mark of a good player, is knowing when to back off, knowing when to retreat, when to get out of there. So obviously radar here showed me that guy. I just one-shotted him. I must have got a lucky shot because I believe later on in the match it took 2 or 3 shots to kill him. But you're seeing a lot of people with these small and shoddily constructed bots now, because not only do you get more energy for less CPU, but you will get a lot of newer players trying to build their own bots now in these, I can't even say upper level matches now, because everybody's tossed in the matches together, unless you're on a party, and then the matchmaker tries to balance out the parties in a match to where it's not 2 platoons versus no platoons, and it actually is working. It looks to me like it's making a difference. This match is I believe all randoms, nobody's platooned up, which are honestly my favorite matches because I'm a random, and I've been playing this game since 2014. I'm not going to say I'm one of the best players out there, but I'm better than a lot of the newer players. And it's kind of my version of pub stomping, I guess, is going out and playing against a bunch of randoms with all this experience under my belt, especially with building. Building does make a big difference. As you can see, I've been able to 1, 2, and 3 shot quite a few bots in this match, and this guy's just bumping me all over the place. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, but it's a pretty good tactic. I'm unable to shoot his plasma guns off, but luckily I got an ally coming in to help. Not sure if I would have won that fight. Pretty sure I would have, because I had 3 rails left and probably would have knocked his last plasma cannon off before he did anything else to me. But you never know. I could have missed, and he got a lucky shot, knocked off another rail, reduces my fire rate, etc. So there's that guy again with the poorly constructed flak bot. Attached 3 legs to the connection points on the flak cannon, and that was it. So all I had to do was shoot his flak cannon off, and he exploded. So I'm telling him now where he made a mistake. I do like to try to help the newbies out. I don't just play this game to go wreck a bunch of people and feel like I'm good at it. I will offer people build advice, and a lot of people don't take it so kindly, but I think this guy did and knows where he made a mistake, and hopefully fixes the problem so that I can't do that as much, or any other player with rails can't do that as much in the future. The guy with the little thrusters, he's got to know what he's doing wrong, and this guy, I'm not sure. I didn't offer him any build advice. I don't do it all the time with everybody I meet, like some kind of overbearing elitist, but it is helpful. And I did used to build bots out of only starter parts, so I could go out there, I'd go out and I'd build these bots out of only starter parts, and I'd upload them to the Community Robot Factory, and I'd put in the description that if you dismantle X or all of your starter bots, this bot will be free, to offer people more of a variety and better built bots to play with, because building is important in this game. So there you have it. We did pretty good. We played mobile rail. We used an old build. I have had that build for quite a long time, untouched since before Fast and Formidable. We did top damage and top score. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.